Well, now as we enter a new phase of war, questions are being raised about what justice will look like in the long term. Pope Francis made some damning remarks today. Take a listen.
This morning, I received two delegations, one of Israelis who have relatives held hostage in the Gaza Strip, and another of Palestinians who have relatives imprisoned in Israel. They suffer so much, and I heard how both sides are suffering. This is what wars do. But here, we have gone beyond wars. This is not war. This is terrorism.
But how do we go about prosecuting alleged crimes? Joining me now is former prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, Luis Moreno Ocampo. Luis, welcome to the program. First, let's talk about this deal, this hostage deal that hopefully will go into effect in just a few hours. From a human rights perspective, what is your reaction to it?
Well, this is an opportunity to have a new vision. What vision? Justice vision. Justice vision. Justice vision means protect both. Protect Palestinian victims and Israeli victims. Protect both. When Israel is bombing Palestinians, it's doing exactly what Hamas was intended. Hamas attacked Israel to provoke Israel, to provoke the war, to provoke the bombing of Palestinians and delegitimize Israel. That's what Hamas did. Hamas does not care about Palestinians. In fact, Hamas is using Palestinians as a shield, which is a war crime, by the way. But so, for me, this is an opportunity to have a new vision to protect both.
Yeah, I want to read for our viewers what you recently said in describing the war and what started the war in an interview. You said what happened on October 7th was a genocide because Hamas's intention is to destroy the Israeli people. Furthermore, it is a crime against humanity, a massive attack on the civilian population, and the taking of hostages is a war crime. Then you went on to say that you've been critical of Israel's response, specifically as it relates to the blockade, and there's been concern, of course, about potential forced displacement. Given the ICC's role, what influence and what role could it play as an independent post-war investigation begins, hopefully, when this war is over? Israel's not a signatory to the ICC. The court does, however, have jurisdiction over Gaza.
Yes. I was 3 years involved in this conflict when I was a prosecutor. Then in 2015, Palestine became a state party. And since 2021, the International Criminal Court accepted to open investigation there. And a few days ago, the current prosecutor, Karim Khan, went to Egypt and talked about the need to investigate both sides. But for me, the problem is it's not just about prosecutors or judges, because it will be late. It will take 4 years. We need to stop the problem now. So we need Israel understanding it's not a good idea to do this war. This negotiation should bring a new vision. Look, how many days, 40 days doing this bombing and killing? How many hostages were rescued? Zero. Zero. How many civilians were killed? How many Hamas commanders were killed? Numbers are not clear, but at least apparently 12,000 civilians killed. So we are going nowhere. And as you say, the blockade, the Hamas attack is clearly, for me, a genocide because Hamas has intention to destroy the Israelis from the land. But the answer, in particular, the blocking of the water and the gasoline to 2 million people, no Hamas, that is a war crime, a crime against humanity, and probably a genocide. So, and I talked to my friends who are super expert in international law from Israel, and they agree with me that they reject the genocide idea, but they agree with me, war crime clearly, crime against humanity clearly, because we cannot block and affect 2 million people. Palestinians are not Hamas. Hamas is not Palestine. And that's the distinction we have to make. That's why the justice approach helps us to understand alternatives.
Let me turn to some of the developments and concerns from some in your own country, your home country of Argentina, and their new president-elect, Javier Milei. How do you feel about the elections, the surprising turnaround, and some of his positions, specifically in the past, in his skepticism about an estimated murder of 30,000 people or so between 1976 and 1983.
Well, interesting. Argentina, during the 70s, had a war, an internal war, civil war between guerrillas and the army. And Argentina, the Pope, as you know, is Argentinian. So Argentinians will learn justice is alternative. I became the prosecutor of my generals in my country 40 years ago. And that's why, for us, it's important, the idea of justice. What happened with the junta trials 40 years ago, we consolidate democracy. No more coup d'etat in Argentina. Now, recent election, something very interesting happened. An economist with no past, no party, almost alone, won the election, 56% of the votes in favor. He has connection with Bolsonaro and Trump, but he's not Bolsonaro or Trump. Neither.
So who is he? Who is he in your view?
Well, you know, because this invitation I was reading about, because I live in Los Angeles, so I'm reading about him now. He's an economist, and he's a libertarian. He's a libertarian. He is Cato Institute in the U.S., so he believed in markets and in freedom. That's what he's talking about. And totally different than Trump. When you listen to him, he's talking about he's the president of all the Argentinians. And also he's talking about supporting the law, respecting the judges. In fact, he was saying making judicial independent. How he will do it, that's a challenge. We have no idea. I don't think he knows, because he was elected president with no party. So he has less than 10% of the votes in the Senate and almost a little more of 10 in the House. So he has no majority. So the real challenge in Argentina now is how the Argentinians play together. And can this president, who was elected challenging the old political class, can he be smart enough to unite all the Argentinians to push for his reforms? That's the challenge. But it's not him. He's not Trump. He's not Bolsonaro. He's different. He's a libertarian. How can he move Argentina? Okay, we don't know.
But it may, I think, reflect a sign of just desperation from the status quo for many decades in the country, specifically in terms of its economic malaise. You have inflation at nearly 150% now. It's estimated to go to about 185% by the end of the year within a matter of a few months. Poverty is at a high level right now. Corruption is rampant throughout the country. So what does it say that there is a society willing to elect somebody? I mean, this is why I think the comparisons with Trump are made, not just because of his eccentric nature or some of the off-color remarks he makes, but because he comes across as an outsider. What does it say about the dire economic situations in the country that they would be willing to take a risk on someone like him now?
Yes, I think you're right. That was the reason of his election, because he's promising to transform economy. Argentina has democracy. That's okay. That was obtained 40 years ago. Now people choose this person, has no past, challenging the political class, challenging how Argentinian politicians manage the economy, proposing free market. That's his challenge, completely different than Trump, because Milei is proposing judges and law, the opposite than Trump. So I believe Argentina is different than Brazil and US. So it's a new, Argentina is a very interesting country. It's a very crazy country and interesting. We'll see what happens. But as you say, he's proposing an economic reform. Can he do it? We don't know.
Yeah, budget cuts, dollarizing the currency. But, you know, some of his detractors and critics accuse him of being a threat to democracy. It sounds like you aren't willing to go there just yet.
Well, he was elected by 56% of the votes. And in my country, everyone accepted the elections, were fair elections, everyone agreed. And he was saying, I will govern for all the Argentinians. When I live in the US, Trump is not saying that. So it's different than Trump, different than Bolsonaro. Can he deliver? That's a different question. But I feel it's a mistake to confuse Milei with Trump or Bolsonaro. He's different. He's a libertarian. How he'll manage, we don't know. But Argentinians learn about war is wrong, justice is needed. And that lesson that the Pope presented it's a lesson the world has to listen in the Israel-Gaza. It's a new vision. We need to protect everyone.
You mentioned the Pope. I mean, I just would be remiss not to say that Javier Milei has trash-talked the Pope and others. But he is...
Well.
Yes. Yeah.
But,
yes.
you know, the Pope, being the Pope, he called him. So now Milei was talking to the Pope, very happy, and as a president, Milei invited the Pope. As a president, Milei is showing a different attitude, much more integrating people, and he invited the Pope and respect the Pope. So, you see, even Argentina could be in agreement.
Yeah, maybe they can reconcile. If anybody can bring about reconcile, of course, it would be the Pope. Luis Moreno Ocampo, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Well, now in the U.S., the film industry is still falling short on diverse representation, both on screen and off. According to UCLA's latest report, only 16%